everyone. I'm very excited to have you join our very first webinar. We have close to 50 people already joined today, where most of the people who joined are city officials from different cities around the world. I want to take this opportunity to thank our special guest today, Dr. Ila Oren and Dr. Ayelet Ginzi. We see cities around the world kind of challenged with COVID-19 and the need for better engagement tools with the residents. And regardless of the use of the Colu platform, I want to say that we're here to help with anything that we can do in order to help you better engage with the residents in those difficult times and advise on any matter. So feel free to approach us with any question or anything that we can help it with, again, regardless of using our platform. I want to pass now the speaking to Dr. Ila Oren, who, by the way, was a big supporter of the CityCoin initiative, or even before Colu started to work with cities. So very long time we had discussions about how we can better engage residents and how we can use this tool in order to incentivize people in the city for different behaviors. So I'm really excited to pass it over to you. Thank you, Ila.
Thank you, Amos. This is an old friendship. Let's put the presentation on. I'm putting it just for 1 second. And it is a great opportunity for me, first of all, to be out of my home and come over here to the office and share some great time with you for the next 10 minutes. Let's put I'm trying to put on my share screen. Let's see if it works.
Michael, you have to let go of yours.
Michael, please let go of yours, and then mine will be able to go in. Yay! Here we are. First challenge is over. So, coronavirus, cracking the innovation code in Tel Aviv. Believe me, if you would be here, you'd feel that it's part of. I'm talking to all of my fellow friends all over from other cities. We refer to as, this is an era of cities, right? Tel Aviv wants to see itself as part of the 20 leading global cities, but New York, Tokyo, London, and Paris will probably give it a little laugh. When I started working 12 years with cities, CityCoin was not an issue yet. When the Tel Aviv Foundation, chaired by the mayor, was brought up in '77, it was made up as a financial tool to bring matching model for global partnerships and drive urban innovation to meet the city needs from all over. The PPP, the public-private partnership, is so important. We're going to go over and over this in the next 10 minutes, and I'm sure my other colleagues are going to talk about that later on, because this is what makes actually the difference between just a player than a collaborator. And this is what I'm going to talk a little bit about, the financial tools. But at the end, the CityCoin or the Colu app is using that very much. So as an NGO, as an independent NGO, it's important for us to define what can we do different on this COVID-19. We feel that it is coming and attacking Tel Aviv, but I'm sure all of you guys are feeling that it is attacking all of you. And it's, I think, the first time, at least in my professional work, that I feel that all my partners are using the same challenges, or are attracting the same challenges at the same time. Now this is, look at the next slide that I put. It's a city challenge and it's a municipal challenge, but it's two different things. It's not actually the same thing. While we're all facing the widespread unemployment, the small business shutdown, the food scarcity, the communities in distress, we feel that, we see it, it's in our heart. Our challenges is with the reduced workforce, is with the financial uncertainty. Most of the projects in the Tel Aviv municipality are shut down now. Communication with the residents is like so different than unusual life. The inflexible use of funds is, again, so different. So we had to find some way to drive this, to make an impact, to understand what are we doing this. And then we refer to 8 different, I would say, or focus on 8 different target audiences, whether it's school students at risk, whether it's elderly, women suffering from domestic violence, and this is a very big issue. I saw the French cities differing with that. Asylum seekers, again, all of them in global cities. We have our specific Jaffa and Arab community, but I want to focus on the small business, the ones that, by the way, if I may say, a month ago, they were the first one to bring out the torch and refer to this before anybody else referred to the challenges and to the solutions. The small businesses already were screaming. The private sector, the way I see it, as a public sector, the private sector always sees and understands things before anyone. So always look at them. And when they called us, we said, okay, we have to do this something different. We have to find financial tools on how are we doing it? How are we using money to drive a specific outcome? How are we engaging new players who expect return on investment? This is something I think maybe the most important thing is this row, engaging new players, and we'll refer to that, how we did it with Colu, right here, over here. And of course, focusing on the individual and on local community. It's all different communities out there in Tel Aviv that needs different help. How are we driving all this? These financial tools, they are tools, but they must drive values. Now, when I put up this slide, it's a slide that is for regular life, the improving the quality of life, lowering the cost of living. This is not what interests us now when we are in danger. For now, what we need are 2 most things: urban resilience and social responsibility. I don't know how you guys are feeling in your city, but in our city, in our country, we have so many threats from all over, but I must say that the social responsibility is getting higher and higher. People are getting up there, and this is again a time to use these different financial tools that we're talking about, and this is why we should use them. So what we did is 3 weeks ago, we initiated the Mayor's Emergency Relief Fund. It's a specially fund. Usually strong cities will say, why do we need that? This is a strong city, it has a big budget, but now nobody's strong. Nobody can know any certainty about its budget. So we went on a global fundraising campaign, again, with talking all the time about this matching method of dollar to dollar, which is very important for all the NGOs that are coming in, partnering with local nonprofits. While we're sure that all the time we are focusing on execution of emergency care and supply to our most vulnerable communities. Because when I'm talking to you, when Amos is going to talk to you, when Elad here, my old partners here, we're not the vulnerable community, but we must take care of the vulnerable communities that cannot take care of themselves now. They're shut down in their houses and they need us to help. How are we helping them? The PPP magic torch, I would say. The public-private partnership that is always out there to help us. Now, when I talk about it, I look at the importance of collaborations with these global organizations worldwide, whether it's the Rockefeller Foundation or the Bloomberg Philanthropies or Bernard Valier Foundation or the social finance bonds all over. But if I may, this is the minute I want to focus on Colu. And again, thank you, Amos, for this long-lasting friendship. And Michael, I think your tool brings something new that is really putting an added value at this time. When we buy local today, the initiative of Colu put 3 objectives, and I'm sure you're going to elaborate on that later on. Support on small businesses they are in the most threatening era. They don't know if they're going to live tomorrow or not. They're incentivizing shopping and staying local, just next to my house. And they're, of course, avoiding using of cash, not because of anything of currency, but of organic. We don't want people to touch each other. The results are in numbers that you're seeing here in just 3 weeks, but the most important result that I want to focus is the 30% income through Colu. This number that the businesses are talking about, the revenue cycle that is going through their shops is something that is outrageous. And it gives us hope that it will grow and that it will, when we finish this, hopefully this COVID-19, this crisis, they will stay. The buyers that are faithful, they will stay there. So I'm just bringing a very little, I think, tool, but a very big hope when for business and for our citizens. It's in a very, very quick, I think, overview, but it brings my other fellows in other cities that are working a method that can be used and can be shown to your mayors. My mayor is the chairman of my foundation, but the big thing is the trust between the officials in the municipality, the people in the foundation, and all the private sector and the other NGOs. Put all these PPP, all these partners together, and you've got a very strong tool that you can use. Again, thank you so much for having me here. And I'm sure that we'll be open for questions later on with my colleague Elad, or for any question for you, Michael, just now.
Thank you very much, Hila. Now I will present our screen. So thanks, guys, for joining. Obviously, on behalf of Colu, as Amos mentioned, we obviously are very excited to have everyone here, mostly to offer help for cities and really to kind of explain more about our platform and also how we're helping cities right now. And just as a background, we've been around for about 5 years. Right now, our main focus is in Israel and cities like Tel Aviv and Haifa. We're working on cities throughout the United States, as well as globally, to really help them right now with COVID-19, but also in general and also before. Right now, we have about 250,000 users and merchants, 38 employees, and funding from venture capital. A little bit about kind of us as a background and what we do. So we're a Govtech company, and we work and partner with cities to create an app that's branded with the city. And the app, really what it does is it rewards behaviors that meet the goals of cities. So what do cities want their residents to do, and how do we incentivize them to do it? And we do it in the form of this unique city branded coin that's a reward, an incentive for engaging in that type of behavior. So for example, shopping at a local business, as we had mentioned, engaging in certain like reporting to the cities, anything that we want, that the city wants the residents to do, they can do it through this app that we supply them that's custom made and custom branded for them. And before I get a little bit kind of more into how we're dealing with COVID-19, kind of continuing Hila's words, we'll get into kind of the platform in general. So the platform really is a unique way to connect residents with what's going on in the city. And it really gives the city a way to engage and also show residents what's going on. And what we do is really we create different rewards programs that help the cities achieve these goals. So for example, shopping at local businesses and rewarding people for doing so. So you can get it in the form of a city coin. For example, let's say we're saying a Tel Aviv coin, which is what we have right now. So by purchasing at a local business, let's say there's a 10% cash back, you pay the equivalent of $10 and you would get rewarded $1 in the local form of the local currency. That dollars you accumulate is similar to like points. You can think of it like airline points or points at a credit card, points that you get, and you accumulate these points. As you accumulate the points, you can then redeem them at local businesses. That's kind of how the concept works. So we have urban stories, so you see what's going on in the city. We have concepts of like discovery. So you can also discover the businesses that are in the city. You can discover what's going on, which businesses are open, what they're doing, and it really kind of gives the population a way to understand what's happening. The most important thing also beyond this is my impact. So you get to see, okay, what did you do? How many points did you accumulate? How many coins that you get and how can you redeem them and what else is going on in the city and what your action, how did you contribute to the city, right? So that's kind of how the platform works in general. And in terms of the customer journey, again, this kind of explains how it works. You download the app, you put in your information, you put in your credit card information one time, and then you really see what's going on in the city, and then you purchase with your credit card and really start accumulating points by engaging in those transactions. So again, very simple, and really the app is there to guide you and show you, okay, what's going on and what can you do. And what happened really is, we had been working for a while, and as about a month ago, COVID-19 really kind of started getting our attention, we said, hey, like, wow, we have to figure out how can we really help cities with this? And as we were kind of initiating conversations, we had dozens of cities kind of reach out to us and say, hey, how can you guys help us also? And so that kind of sparked us to really start an entire market research initiative internally, speaking to cities, doing due diligence and understanding how can we help with this type of reward platform. And we kind of boiled it down to 4 different things that we could help cities with, and that's what we really started doing. And that's number 1, it's saving small businesses. So how do we incentivize and encourage residents to shop locally during these times? We know and we see what's going on. We see that this is like unprecedented, and these small businesses really have never experienced anything like this, where it's like a bottom-up approach, really not because of financial issues, but because of a health pandemic. And that's a huge problem that we're seeing. So small businesses is a big thing that cities need help with, and that's where we're really focusing a lot of resources on. The second thing is communications. So right now, cities don't really know yet how to not only communicate, so they use, let's say, Facebook or their website or Twitter, but they don't really know what's going on. Like, are the residents also listening and seeing the messaging? Are the residents able to engage in the messaging? And the communication really is important for cities because they also want that data. If the city wants to put up a message for quarantine periods or for making sure that people don't go to local businesses and so forth, the city has to also know, are people listening? So that's one thing. The second thing is reporting. So we realized that cities want to know what is going on with the residents. Like, do residents have a fever? Do they have symptoms? And with our app, what we realized we could do is they can get rewarded for reporting these symptoms. And then that incentive is really kind of driving them to do it, and also creating the psychological need for them to continue and report. Same thing goes for volunteering. Obviously, right now we are in this constant need for volunteering effort. And that's something that we're really trying to encourage people to do. With cities, we see cities now are using these like Google Docs and everything. So right now what we can do through that is reward people for volunteering. And the last thing is distribution of funds. So as cities get funds, and whether it's from state level, federal level, they want the residents to be able to get these funds. Now with our city coin, we can basically ensure that these funds go to the residents and that they're using these funds at local businesses. So that's a key point. It's keeping those dollars and those whatever currency these cities use in local form and using it at local businesses. And we're already doing it now. So we're doing it in Tel Aviv. We really kind of started very quickly to take action with local businesses. So we even saw that, because of the campaign, we pushed the effort with local businesses and the Shop Local campaign. We see that in the past 2 weeks, the merchants saw that about 30% of their traffic came from Colu users. So we're seeing that even now this impact is great, and the incentives help. These incentives are really driving people to consume at these local businesses, and people want to do it, right? People want to help local businesses. The second thing we added also now is open for delivery. So, right, cities want to show the public what businesses are open. Obviously this is uncharted territory, and right now people can't, let's say, go to stores. So what stores are delivering? What stores are delivering that used to not deliver, for example, whether it's, a hardware store that maybe now is doing these types of things. So cities want to show that, and that's what we started also in Tel Aviv. Another thing is with gift cards. So, right, like a lot of the concepts now is like, how can you also help these businesses with cash flow? So you can basically pay ahead of time, and then once the business reopens, you will get some sort of credit for the business, which is extremely critical, and we see that it's going to be extremely helpful also here in the US. Also helping like Hila mentioned, disadvantaged communities and disadvantaged segments of the population, whether it's senior citizens, low income, and other populations that are not able to get access to a lot of the things that they should be, we can help them do that, and we can incentivize people for helping them or for volunteering. And the last thing I'll say quickly is just watching a video. So also the explanatory concept of it, and how, let's say some people, let's say a city wants people to watch a YouTube clip of how to take and engage in best practices about the social distancing. So if someone watches a 1-minute clip, they would get rewarded by the city for doing so. And that way we're really engaging and changing people's behaviors through these rewards, and we see the tangible impact. We already in the past 2 weeks have seen that an additional 4,000 residents have joined the Shop Local campaign. These small businesses have been getting a lot of the revenue from us through Colu. And we're also starting to see more and more donations to nonprofits through our platform. So we're seeing this impact. We're seeing that people want to be connected. People want to help local businesses. And this is really a platform for them to do it. And honestly, we're really trying to work hard to just help cities now. And we know that kind of this is really uncharted territory, and we really want to help in that sense. One other thing that we really kind of figured out is we had to create a quick streamlined strategy for cities to get this platform running. A lot of the feedback we were getting initially was great, but we don't have 3-4 months. We don't have time to get this launched. We need help now. So we kind of internally also optimized the process that we use to get the app up and running, and also externally worked on the process for seeing how we can help cities. We know that cities also in an unprecedented fashion are low on staff. We know that there are IT issues and people can't go to work anymore. And we know that the bandwidth that cities have to handle and even like take proactive measures to help is minimal. So we kind of internally said, hey, we're gonna use all of our resources to help cities much more than we ever did because of that issue. So, the first step is creating a strategy with the city, and really determining what are the first steps that we can take. What are the first actions that we can take that'll help the city achieve some of these goals? Is it with small businesses? Is it with reporting? Is it with volunteering? It could be a few simultaneous, but we'd want to initially just start and define these initiatives that we'd want to start with. We then get the app going, custom tailor it for a city with the branding and colors and everything. We'd bring on the local businesses. So we'd bring on whomever is relevant. It could be local businesses from restaurants to stores to doctor. It really could be any local business that can be on the platform. We would launch the app. Residents would download it and then start redeeming coins. So it's a very quick process. We say in about 4 to 6 weeks we can get it up and running, and it's very important for us to be able to do. Because again, the need is now, and again, we're in uncharted territory. So we're really trying to be agile and use all of our entrepreneurial spirits in here to come up with ideas and quickly execute on that. That's the most important part. It's executing on these ideas. And I think that's what we've started. And that's also what we're really trying to continue in Tel Aviv. Additional examples is like helping us for the quarantine kits. So, having like dedicated quarantine kits in specific municipalities. So people would also be able to buy local quarantine kits instead of buying them online at the big box retailers. And yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell. Again, we are really trying to help cities be proactive. I think that's the main thing we learned. We learned that again, cities are facing these challenges, especially with local businesses. But more so with everything else in terms of communication and engaging residents at these times. I think the fact that it is 2020 right now, I think we have the technological capabilities to do this unlike ever before and unlike previous generations. And I think what we really want to try to do is take advantage of the fact that we have technology, we have these resources, we have brain power that's willing to go and help, starting with small businesses, but then going much more. And also we realize that like a lot of the cities need help in the execution of it. So in not only taking the idea, but also making sure that we can take this concept, figure out what these goals are, and then just really start and launch. We really have kind of been getting unprecedented outreach come to us or inbound to us from cities who really need help. So we kind of want to offer our support and obviously help as much as we can. We understand the situation and we understand that things are really challenging. In terms of reaching out, obviously you can feel free to reach out to me via email. in the company as well, whomever, we're here to help. And, just for anything like Amos was mentioning earlier, just any help or support we can offer for cities, we're here. And that's it for my end. I will now hand it over to Dr. Ayelet Genizi. And we'll stop sharing.
Yes, so hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
You can hear me, right? Is this up and running? Cool. Thumbs up?
Thumbs up.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, yeah, it's nice to take a break from my regular work because I like Hila, work in my garage these days, every day. So thank you very much for organizing this, Michael and Amos and Elad, and for inviting me to be a part of this, because what it did, it really helped me kind of focus my thoughts that have been quite unorganized in recent days. So I've been asked to talk about two topics. One, I think I understood better what the expectation is. The other one may be a bit less, but we'll have time for Q&A, and hopefully I can help with that or answer other questions if I didn't get to the point. So I would like to start with what's the easier one for me, which is supporting small businesses. And I could talk about this forever, so more than my allotted 10 or 15 minutes. But the first thing I would like to say about this is, at least for me, when I'm thinking about this notion of supporting small businesses, the way I think of it is engaging in pro-social behavior, right? So in helping behavior. And this is important for me to stress now at the beginning, because it kind of determines how we think about this, right? Because if you think about this as, for example, an act of, to say, well, it's actually selfish to help them because I would like them to be here once this crisis is over, then everything about the motivation or why anyone would choose to buy from a local business or, so to speak, help a local business might be different. And this notion of helping behavior is interesting because at the end of the day, helping is selfish. And it's selfish in a very specific way, in a good way. At least that's how I think about that. And the notion is that, first of all, it's okay that if you think about it, it's okay that it's it makes us feel good, because if it makes us feel good, then we're more likely to repeat behaving that way in the future. And I will explain in a second, because I've been like stuttering for a second here. So why do we think about this? Or why do we think of this as a selfish behavior? And it's not me thinking about this. There's a lot of research about that. And the minute I will tell you about it, I'm sure everyone will kind of at least be able, it will resonate with most, if not all of you. And that's the notion of warm glow. So if you think about it, when you do something nice, I said that you buy from a local business and you know this is a nice thing to do, or you go and you help an old person cross the road, and that is clearly a nice thing to do, assuming they actually want to cross the road, that makes us feel good about the way we behave, right? So yeah, kind of this warm, fuzzy feeling. And by the way, if we look for data from all over the world, and what I'm showing you here is a correlation data, and the correlation is between pro-social spending, so spending on charitable giving, essentially, on donations, and happiness, and green. So if you go with the green here, up here, this is the highest correlation coefficient, the 0.8. There is a very strong relationship, right? So areas or countries where people give more, people report being happier. And we can argue about how whoever ran this study actually measured happiness, but the point is that being nice, being kind actually makes us happy. And I will skip that one for the lack of time. This is just another example. And the one thing I want to kind of link to that, this notion of being kind, being nice makes us feel better, is the idea that we all want to be kind of our local heroes, and we want to be our local heroes, or to be to champion or to help our communities, and we do it for two reasons, which are not necessarily, they're not contradicting one another. They actually can be can be complementary. They also could be slightly in conflict, but mostly not. And the first one is because we really strive to be a good person, right? I want to be a good person. I want to feel, to tell myself to feel, when I go back, when I go to sleep every night, I want to be able to tell myself I'm a good and nice person, I'm helping others, but we also want to be perceived as kind people, right? So it's really important for me that Michael, when he sees how I'm behaving, he says, wow, she's really nice, right? And these two motivations, one is how we feel about ourselves, and the other one, how others perceive us, are really important. And they're really important for thinking about encouraging people or motivating people or asking them to come and lend a hand. Okay, so now you might ask, if it's all so great and we all want to help and we all want to feel good about ourselves, how come we're not doing that? I think we're not doing that, and this is not research. This is just me thinking, so maybe an educated guess, but still a guess. I think we're really lost. I've been listening a lot to the radio. I have more time than usual to do that. I've been thinking about what is going on myself. And if you think about specifically, so we're clearly lost about thinking about what will happen tomorrow, right? So every day when I wake up, first thing I look at the news and I'm like, is the end nearer than it was yesterday? But we're also lost with respect to helping others, because we don't know what it means to help, how we can help, who should we help, when, where. And I think this is the role of the municipality or the organization or the platform, in this case, hopefully for all of you, it will be Colu, to actually help individuals figure that out. So I'll be going, someone sent me a text. It could be that I was told, no, I wasn't told to wrap up. Okay, so I'm going to go through 5 principles, and there could be more, but I think these are the most important one when you're thinking about driving action, right? So again, the assumption is that people are inherently good, inherently they want to help, they want to do something good, and what we need to do is really nudge them. Now, some of you may have heard of the book Nudge and the whole nudge theory. This is not necessarily that kind of nudge, although the image is taken from an article at the New York Times on nudge theory by Dick Thaler, but it's this notion of, what I'm trying to get at is, we want to understand what would make someone want to engage in good behavior and kind behavior and leverage that. So the first one is really making it personal, right? So the more we get to the numbers, right, we talk about there are so many people that are hurt and so many people that are impacted by this, and so many small businesses that, you know, cannot do anything. This is sad, but it doesn't touch us the way a story touches us, or a person, an image. So this was taken from the Boston Globe, and it was a collage that they had. And this is more powerful than words, but this one is even more powerful. Sorry, right? So make it personal to the level of the one person. Because now I have one person and I can look at her and I can see the sadness in her eyes. Maybe she's not sad, maybe I'm making it up, but that's not the point. And make people connect to that individual. And there are other ways to make or make it personal. This is taken from San Diego, if it will just come up. So this is our local, one of our local coffee shops. Jeff Taylor, who was one of the best community activists and person contributes to the community. Instead of talking about Birdrow coffee roasters, I'm showing you him, right? In better days when the place was open. And this is another way to make the connection. Because again, if you talk to me about businesses closing La Jolla, I'm like, okay, that's really sad. But if you kind of in front of me, kind of face me, give me the image or the information that it's someone I actually know and a place I actually like, then the story might be altogether different. And the last one, you will have it in the, if we share a video, you'll be able to play it yourself. I'll play it, it's like a minute. Oops, my mouse is very sensitive. So this is taken from, yeah, another website.
Now, as the country prepares for lockdown,
Can you hear that?
businesses like Sabine's dangerous chocolate store are facing an uncertain future.
We don't even try to mitigate.
Yeah, we can.
I have, since yesterday, we have been very generous to all of our customers that came to buy chocolate for Easter, and whatever I can sell today will be sold. Whatever is left over will go to the hospital. I have no wage, but I paid my local suppliers. I paid electricity. I paid my rent, and I'll look at next month and I'll see what next month brings. In the process of cleaning up my kitchen, cleaning up my fridges, turning the lights off, to not have too much of an electricity bill at the end of the month. And then I will go home, and tomorrow I'll sleep. And tonight I sit and I have a cry, and that's it.
Now, as the country
I'm sorry. Yeah. So yeah. So that was about, and the notion of all of those of the number one is really making it personal, getting away from the numbers, getting away from the statistics, and making a connection. The other thing, and Michael touched on that, is really this notion of providing an incentive. I happen to be married to the world's #1 expert on incentives, so I won't say too much about that, but I will say that in order to be able to provide a good incentive, you should really understand the individuals you're trying to incentivize, to know what actually makes them go. And some individuals might say, well, I don't want to do that for money. If it's, I just want to do this before I'm feeling good, right? So giving a monetary incentive for some people might actually decrease the likelihood they will do what you want them to do. And those of you who are working with Colu or will be working with Colu are lucky because they do a very good job of understanding and researching their target group in order before communicating with them, right? So knowing exactly what is likely to work and what is not. You can think about, generally, I'll just say that you can think of two types of incentives. One are tangible incentives, which is, you can think about donation matching, which was mentioned earlier by Hila. You can think about points and credits and coins on the Colu app or anything else. It can be actually money that you give back. Whatever it is, you can think of tangible, things that you can actually hold and feel, incentives, and also intangible, right? I talked earlier about this notion of form glow. That's one thing. Status, right? Say that we gave people stars, or we gave them labels according to how great they are as community activists or engagers. Number 3, I think people want to know, and I know that at least talking to Elad many years ago, several months ago, sorry, we talked about this notion of individuals wanting to know how what they do actually makes a difference. So this is not the best image for that, but if someone is engaging and doing something or did something, tell them, get back to them and tell them how what they did actually had an impact. And this is something you also want to do when you try to convince anyone to give or to help or to donate or whatnot. Tell them how that thing is going to make a difference in someone else's lives, or, you know, in this case, the small business. Number 4 and 5 together, lumping them. Be specific, and so if I had to skip everything I had, if Michael would tell me you should have done it in 5 minutes, I would focus on this. So on this slide, so being specific is, so it's not enough that I want to help and I want to give and I want to contribute. I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. And if you listen to the radio, people call in with questions about what and how. So tell them what they should be doing. Tell them how much of it. If you want money, say how much money. If you want them to buy, tell them how much to buy, but be very, very specific. And by the way, the how much is really important, because oftentimes people can only give $5, but they will not want to give $5 because they're afraid that, you know, it will make them seem cheap, or 5 is not enough, or 5 won't make a difference. And that's not the case in most cases. So if you're asking for money, ask them for money and tell them exactly how much you need, and better to make the amount smaller, right? Better to ask for less than for more, because the likelihood that people will respond, especially in these times, is higher. And tell them when, and when I'm telling when, I'm telling meaning now. So don't say give when you can. Create a sense of urgency, and also the importance or the benefit of kind of creating a time limit and saying you can only give today or you can only help tomorrow, is that you're decreasing the chances of anyone engaging in what we call procrastination, which we all do. And I'm at 15 minutes, so I will try to go over this quicker. Number 5 is just make it simple. And the making it simple in terms of searching information, finding information about what to do. This is the first one, this one, but also taking action. And I think in terms of infrastructure and making it simple, this is very difficult, because especially when you talk about small businesses, small local businesses, the majority of them don't have online presence in a way that enables them to actually conduct business. So if as a citizen want to help, want to do something good, it should be, the infrastructure should somehow be there, either through Colu or through Colu and other partners, or through completely other partners. And again, just touching on what Hila said earlier, that public-private partnerships, think about, this is a time to partner with just anyone you can for this purpose. I'll go over this very quickly just because we don't have time. These are the, in groups, in categories, the devices you can find online. So how to help businesses to be patient and say thanks. That's nice, but really not enough for anyone to do anything. This box here, the order delivery, shop local, schedule service for later, especially the top two here, the order delivery and shop local online. This is really important, again, to make sure that you have the infrastructure for people to actually do that. And of all of these, the ones I like the most is the buying gift cards or buying, credit for future purchases. Again, it's unclear whether you can do that. I went to my local restaurant. I walked by one of our local restaurants yesterday. I wanted to see if we can do that. There is no way. They just don't know how to even process that from an accounting standpoint. They don't have gift cards, and they don't know how to create a credit line. But this is something I believe that can be solved. Michael, shall I continue?
Great, thank you, Edith. That was great. And I will now, if you can just disconnect your presentation, I will now kind of start the Q&A. We have about 13 minutes. So I think the best way is if you guys want to raise your hand through the list, and then I can start taking questions. Okay, here I see one question from Joel. Go ahead.
So can you go into some detail on how the volunteer rewards are issued and how they're redeemed?
Yeah, so
an aspiration.
So no, volunteering it's already something that we do, and that's really done in a fairly simple form, meaning that there are certain budgets that are allocated to volunteering efforts, and those budgets, when someone does volunteer, then they would be given, for taking that action of volunteering, they would be rewarded. Does that make sense? So for volunteering, for initiating in the action, they would then get rewarded through a budget that's allocated towards volunteering.
So are they rewarded in cash? Are they rewarded in points?
So they're rewarded in city coin, in the city coin, and that's what they're rewarded in. So they would be rewarded in the local coin that then they would be able to redeem at local businesses.
And so where does the budget come from that you're talking about? Like the city puts up a budget, people earn coins, and then that budget pays the merchant what they would have gotten in a coin?
So that budget, so the city can put a budget. We have a lot of third parties that could put budget. It could be sponsor, it could be a foundation, it could be the state. There's countless budgets that could come in, and that budget is allocated towards a specific initiative. So if that initiative is, let's say, volunteering, then someone would get rewarded for that volunteering effort through that budget, whatever we decide that the reward is, whatever the city wants to reward them with.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me get to more questions because I saw a few more people raise their hand. One more. Okay. There was one more hand I saw. But maybe
Michael,
they took
there are
off.
more in the chat as well.
Oh, okay. Here, I see Jason Cameron though. Just and then I'll get the chat. Okay, Jason, go ahead.
Just wondering, again, we have a local currency, Calgary dollars. It's an app incentive as well to encourage people to shop local. Could that be utilized as instead of city dollars?
So, sorry, can you say that one more time?
So could we use our current local currency? It's called Calgary dollars. It's an online shop local currency. Could that be used in place of city dollars?
It's an interesting question. So we create the currency that we use is like a local currency that is used and has a value because the value can be redeemed at local businesses. So we can work with you kind of to determine what's going on right now and see how we can adapt it to the platform that we're using. So there's flexibility there and we can kind of figure that out. But it just has to make sure that, you know, the value of the coin corresponds with what our platform is doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see one more question. That's it. So I'll go now. If nobody else wants to raise their hand, I will go to the Q&A section. So I know I see someone asked here if the app is in English in Tel Aviv, or does it support both languages as well as Spanish, Arabic, and others. So the app really, yeah, we can do it in different languages, English, Hebrew, Spanish. I know some municipalities actually in California and in Florida actually did request for it to have Spanish capabilities. So that's obviously something we're aware of. So appreciate that question. And of course, we can always add more as needed. We're based in Tel Aviv and have offices here in New York City, where I'm based out of. So really have a local presence. In terms of cost to cities, so we have really an annual fee for cities depending on the size of the city, and that's something that we'll talk about, and we're happy to answer questions about unique municipalities as they come up. And then might you have any US city case studies who are being impacted by COVID-19 and using the Colu platform? So yeah, so we're about to launch a few. We've spoken to dozens and dozens of municipalities, to say the least, and honestly, that's kind of where we're learning and we're getting a lot of feedback, because there's certain kind of common denominators that we see within municipalities, but there are also certain things that we kind of see that are unique needs. Like some municipalities really want to focus on local businesses, where others want to focus on the communication, some want to focus on volunteering. So obviously that's something very important. I see another question. What's your growth projections for the business for a more global coverage? I'm not sure, Thomas, if I understood that question. So if you want to just clarify here, because obviously we expect kind of in terms of the growth trajectory of a business, if that kind of what it relates to, is obviously we see the impact that it has had in Tel Aviv on the local businesses. So obviously here, we expect the same in the US, if not more, depending on how, like really what a unique, like how quickly this can impact and how quickly people can really start using the app in cities. One more thing I see now, I see two more questions. Can you create a local tax increment zone within the app? For example, can you create a tax on certain goods or products and use the tax for local parks, affordable housing? So I wouldn't say the word tax. I mean, what we do is we create rewards, and those rewards can be used for different things. But typically the reward is for the consumer, meaning the consumer is the population and the residents, and those are the users who ultimately will be gaining the rewards and then also able to use them. That's your question, Jesse. And again, happy to continue offline, but I agree. I mean, there's obviously a lot of things where we can help the city with through the rewards to help with local parks, to help with affordable housing, with like sustainability. Those are things that obviously we want to touch upon, and we can see how we can drive the community to do it through we're like a grassroots approach. So instead of taking it from the tax approach. And then Thomas, I see your clarification. You're right, absolutely. In terms of Thomas, you wrote, I think the communication platform aspect is key. During 9/11, the police couldn't speak to each other. So we realized that there is not a kind of overarching conduit of communication between the city and residents right now. Again, cities are using their website, are using, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all these kind of approaches that aren't really there. It's in a city now, if a city uses Twitter or LinkedIn, it has to use their algorithm to pop up. And cities want to have that straight, direct line of communication. And that's what we see is critical. And so that's definitely a good point. And that's what we're seeing a bigger need now more than ever, when suddenly it's like, real stuff, like a city really needs quickly to be able to let their residents know that they can't go outside, that they can't engage in behaviors, again, because of this unique situation. So great question. And then another question I see also by Thomas is regarding the growth, business growth, strength, so I don't know, Hila, do you want to also answer any of these? I know I've been answering a lot of the questions. I know the Tel Aviv Foundation has been doing a lot about the business growth and everything.
Hila is not here. Just
Okay. Hila, do you want to answer that part of how the Tel Aviv Foundation is helping with that?
Yeah, all right. So I'm speaking, as you see, from Hila's user, but this is definitely not Hila, it's not Hila photo as well. So actually, this is not the first campaign that we're running together with the Tel Aviv Foundation. Mostly we try to focus on small businesses in time of crisis. So just for another example that really will give you maybe the understanding of how we work together, I can tell you about a story we had here in Tel Aviv 4 months ago when the Jerusalem Boulevard, which is a street in downtown South Tel Aviv, went through a massive transportation upgrade due to putting of a light trail. And as the construction began, more than 200 businesses were cut off traffic. When Colu just joined the municipal effort to support those businesses, the first thing we did was to convey the story of those hundreds of small businesses, like most classical moms and pops, as you can think of them, to the entire residents of Tel Aviv. And what we saw is that in 45 days, we had thousands of residents that came to this boulevard to shop local, and we saw more than 20,000 transactions and really brought back the livelihood of the street. And this is really thanks to the extremely professional work of the Tel Aviv Foundation. And I think that what this organization is doing different than other organizations is that they're thinking of rebuilding or building trust between communications and subgroups of the population within the city. So for them, the first goal was to rebuild the trust between the locals and the city government and the city hall. And this is actually what we saw. We saw how people that were very aggressive with their protests against this project became partners for this project. And I think that this is what we can do all around the world, especially in the US. We see many cities that are going through construction and city closures, and as well as during COVID-19, this is the time to build or to rebuild the relationship.
Thanks, Ed. And we have time. One last question I see from Ronit to Ayelet. Examples for effective communication during these COVID weeks. So Ayelet, do you want to answer in like a minute and then we have to sign off?
Oh, it would be a politician's answer. My answer is that it depends. It really depends on what you're actually trying to achieve, right? So, and I didn't get to talk about this whole effective communications in my slides, and we'll share the slides with everyone if those might be helpful. You know, it's in the numbers whether it's effective or not. I can show you great commercials that look amazing, or great communication pieces that do nothing for your objective. They can be entertaining and whatnot, but no one actually, they don't obtain their objective. And you can see a very boring text that actually does everything. I will say that you want to be brief, and you want to be to the point very, very quickly. And I think trying to be sophisticated, entertaining, and whatnot is just not necessary, especially in these days. So be very concise. And if you want someone to do something, tell them exactly what you want them to do and how you want them to do that. And if you want them, Israel has, and the Israel team, maybe you can share the Ministry of Health, the commercial with the sneezing and touching and everything becoming red. I can actually post it here. This is a short PSA, public service announcement, that I think is brilliant, actually. It's a bit too long maybe, but the message is being communicated very effectively. So I'll post that here in a second, and I'm happy to continue this offline.
Great. Thank you, Ayelet, and thank you everyone for attending. We're at 1 p.m., so obviously we want to finish promptly. To all the participants that are here, please feel free to reach out to us if you have any additional questions, to Hila Oren, to Ayelet, to myself, to Amos, or to anyone else from the team. Again, thank you all for attending, and we'll send out the recording of this webinar as well by email in the upcoming day or two. Thanks again, and I hope you guys are all staying safe.
Thank you very much, everyone.